Welcome to another episode of Pit Lane Parlay.
Welcome to another episode of Pit Lane Parlay. I am your host, Mike Jokum. Joining me this morning from Wayne Taylor Racing is Assistant Engineer Logan Sprung and Brian Pilar. Guys, how are we doing this morning?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having us.
Awesome.
Yeah,
so this question's for both of you guys. During these challenging quarantine times, how do you stay race busy during while you're stuck at home? Is a lot of virtual meetings? Are you able to get into the shop at all?
Yeah, on the engineering side, it's a little cleaner for us. We essentially spend most of our days working at a computer anyways, in our offices. So we're pretty much just plugged in front of a computer all day long with actually less distractions than at the race shop. We kind of joked yesterday in one of our meetings, we're getting a lot more done just because we can stay focused on the computer itself and whatever project we're working on. Logan and Shashir and I usually have meetings twice a week on Microsoft Teams. Half the time it's talking about the stuff we're working through, and the other half is just telling stories to each other to, keep us on the same page and just keep entertained.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. So, Logan, you're one of the newer Wayne Taylor Racing engineers after working for Juncos and the IndyCar and Indy Lights programs and their DPI program for the last couple of years. So how did you get started in the Indy Lights and IndyCar world, and what led you then to Wayne Taylor Racing?
Yeah, so I went to school at IUPUI in downtown Indianapolis and studied motorsports engineering. And during my last year studying at school, I got an internship with Juncos. So that was kind of, my first year was 2017 with Indy Lights, which was a lot of fun. We ended up winning the championship with Kyle Kaiser that year. So that was great experience when I was still in school. So I got to use a lot of what I was learning, take it directly and apply it to work. So that was super valuable. And upon graduating in December 2017, 2018 is when Juncos did more of an IndyCar effort. So I got thrown into that deal and kind of was learning as I go that whole year, which was a lot of fun. And then after 2018 was 2019 when we got the DPI. And so with my experience with IndyCar, it was basically kind of the same systems and same idea. So I had to learn and kind of get that program up and running with Juncos for 2019. And then all of a sudden, end of 2019, I get a text from Brian out of nowhere that a position was opening at Wayne Taylor. So I went and had a chat with him, and everything ended up working out, and I made the switch over to Wayne Taylor.
Awesome. So I'll switch it back over to Brian here. Brian, you've been with Wayne Taylor for 13 years now. So how has your role evolved at Wayne Taylor over the last 13 years? And what does a technical director do on a daily or race weekend basis?
Yeah. So when I joined Wayne Taylor Racing, essentially I was assistant engineer, shock guy, and basically building dampers and kind of helping the engineer out. In 2011, the lead engineer moved on to a different team, and kind of Wayne told me I was taking his job no matter what, and we would just figure it out. And it worked out really well. I looked forward to the opportunity. I had a lot of support around me in my previous assistant engineer, Adam Bannett. We kind of grown up together at Wayne Taylor Racing, and reaching out to Dallara and to a lot of the partners we had within the industry. They really supported me in that transition to lead engineer. Officially, technical director role kind of became more of a thing as we started to get involved in car development rather than engineer. So in 2014, when the second generation DP evolved, where carbon brakes and the sequential shifting and stuff like that kind of came into play, it was more of a management, design, and lead engineer role that carried right on to the DPI. The big difference between technical director and lead race engineer is you're doing a lot more emails and talking and reports and less math.
I understand that. So the one thing I think I was told, if I understood correctly, was you guys are both working on the new car that's coming out, I guess, in the next year or two. So what can you tell us about that? Is that part of the new LMDH announcement that's been out for the last couple months?
Yeah. To be fair, our involvement at this point is pretty basic. It's kind of based on the existing relationship with Dallara through kind of the last two gens, the DP and the DPI with a new car. And in that relationship, it's just providing them a lot of information in car design that comes from the people that have to use it. I think the DPI was a wonderful culmination of that relationship where Dallara would often build the car, hand it off to a race team. They'd go racing, have problems, solve problems, have complaints, do a lot of complaining, but nothing would change and nothing would really effectively trickle to Dallara as a company. Whereas we came in and right from day one, we said, these are some things we need in a race car. Here's things you need to consider. And it was a real solid relationship. For the LMDH car, that's already started very roughly in that Dallara is asking questions about certain things as we move into the LMDH. You know, what about this? Can you gather some information on your current car on track about that? And just kind of just starting that information flow. Honestly, a huge piece of our puzzle when Adam Bannett, previous system engineer, left, he did a major portion of the electronics on the DPI car, learning from scratch and figuring it out. And, you know, he was really responsible for, 95% of that even carried over to Dallara's LMP2 car. And when Adam left, that was a key piece in me sending somebody like Logan a text message, on it and making sure to really find the right guy, not just an assistant engineer at the racetrack that can make cars go fast, but the right person to be involved in that new car, with electronic background, electronic mindset, real solid troubleshooter. And that was getting Logan on board was really exciting.
Awesome. So Logan, from your standpoint, an assistant engineer's, day-to-day job during a normal race season would entail what different sort of things?
So I'm primarily responsible, like Brian said, for a lot of the electrical components of the car. And that is basically the configuration of the logger and all the math channels kind of on board, and the displays with the new steering wheels. Also with that is all the sensors on the car and making sure they're all reading correctly and calibrated as precisely as possible. Other than that is doing fuel strategy kind of throughout the weekend, making sure the fuel rig with our fuel timer system is all reading correctly, helping Brian out with any kind of reports and data processing throughout the weekend that he needs or that our drivers want or need. And just kind of stuff like that.
So your first year with Wayne Taylor Racing, and you win the Rolex 24 right off the bat. Obviously, we're in a little bit of a holding pattern right now, but what was it like to win the Rolex 24?
Honestly, it still doesn't feel like it happened. It was pretty surreal. But with given the team's pedigree, and I know they've won it so many times in the past, it was I guess kind of a relief that I could step in and do my job, and we still get that winning result, which I was really, really happy with. And it was just amazing to be a part of. Yeah, that whole 24 hours or 48 or that we were up, it all seems like a blur now. But it was really cool.
And Brian, same question to you. What's it like to be able to win, the biggest sports car race in at least in North America?
Yeah, it's we've won it 3 times, and it's been a different emotion every time. You just, the first one is just huge relief, and honestly, the second one with the wet conditions was, such a surprise, and you sat probably for 3 hours not knowing what was going to go down. And this one was, really special for me. It was, a culmination of us kind of executing on all fronts. We were able to work together and make, a very fast, efficient car. The pit stops, the crew, like getting through, the small troubles, strategizing. Like, it was a really fun win, and just, on all fronts it came together, and it was a great first race with Logan. We're figuring out how to communicate with one another, during the race, and we put some effort into trying to talk about strategy a little bit, but a 24-hour race really isn't a strategic challenge until the end. And definitely working with Logan and some new stuff, and we figured some things out together. And it was we also had Shashir, who's an engineer working on the Lamborghini program, was kind of backing us up in the timing stand too. And we even had an engineer from Dallara fly in for the weekend, who'd done some strategy stuff before, just to kind of, as Adam and I had done it for so many years together and basically could read each other's mind, we kind of built the timing stand with, enough people we trusted in our circle, in the engineering circle, to make the right decisions. And, everybody contributed, and it was awesome. This year was awesome.
It was this was my first year covering the race in person, and I definitely had a blast as well. So when you get guys like Scott Dixon who come in and they're only doing a handful of races for you guys every year, the bigger endurance races, does that make it more challenging as an engineer when they come in, they say, hey, the car isn't exactly how I like it? Or do you kind of have a sense at this point of what somebody like Scott Dixon wants his race car to behave like?
I think the first thing as an engineer is you gotta, we try not to get too caught up in the name of who it is. We've had incredible people come through the cars. Fernando Alonso, Dixon. We've had Hunter Ray, and so forth. And I learned very early on that Wayne Taylor Racing, you just gotta be. It's just another driver with just another way of doing things, and that's kind of the first step in it. And then really to listen to what they all have to say. I think we're kind of unique where a lot of these guys like Scott are coming into our program, and we're already executing and at a pretty high level. The car's pretty well sorted, and we find they just provide little tidbits of information, and they're all the top guys are really willing to adjust slightly to your car because they believe they're coming into something that high level. And, so we really listen to what they're saying because, man, they know what they're doing big time. And it's a really nice balance.
Logan, on your end, being your first year with Wayne Taylor Racing, was it special to be able to work with somebody like Scott Dixon?
Yeah, it was definitely really cool. Brian laughs because I remember the first time that he came into the shop, I had to give him his helmet, and then I went over to Brian after he left, and I was like, dude, Scott Dixon was just here. I just said, hey. And I mean, coming for me, I'm still pretty new. I've only been in kind of racing for 3 years, and I'm not really used to working with, the Scott Dixons of the racing world. So it was pretty surreal to kind of be in that position, working with these drivers of that caliber. So it was really cool.
I definitely understand that. So guys, I'll wrap it up with one final question here. I appreciate both of your time this morning here and hope you guys stay safe. But whenever the season is able to get back underway here, is there one track that you're going into thinking we've got a really strong chance at a win? Which one is you're most confident for right now?
I'll let Logan lead. I want to hear what he has to say first.
Oh man, I wanted to hear what you had to say. I'm not I would not know what to say, actually. I don't know.
How about Logan? Which one do you want to win the most?
Sebring would have been cool, but that's kind of too late. Well, no, I guess
We've got November now.
in the end of the year. So Sebring, yeah, I think Sebring. Yeah, Sebring would be really cool to win. I think that's kind of the next big race, really. Maybe in the future, Le Mans with the new car, that would be incredible just going there. But it's a little bit down the road. So I'd say Sebring right now.
Yeah, I think overall we're pretty, as a team, and Logan's not quite aware of this yet. We definitely have a history of really, nailing it when it's nice and cold. We often struggle in the hot part of the season. And as we kind of get to the end where conditions get colder, really our setup, our kind of standard setup comes together. We've solved that one well. So I know that even the crew members who've been around, they're all talking about, oh yeah, Sebring in November, Petite in October, Mid-Ohio, late September, it's going to be cold. We're going to, everybody's pretty excited for kind of the end season because we've never raced these places cold before or that cold before. For me, Mid-Ohio is like my kryptonite. I have never figured out Mid-Ohio, and man, I want to win. What a goofy race, and I want to win that one so bad.
I have to ask because you brought it up. What makes the team so strong when it's a little bit colder out?
If I knew exactly, I would do the opposite and be amazing when it's hot. It's something. I think there's certain tendencies with car setup, dealing with the tires and so forth. We kind of have some ideas of why we're strong in the cold. It's hard to go testing. Like every time you do a test, you need to pray for it to be super hot in the right conditions. I swear we'll book a test and it'll end up, a big cold front will come through and we'll not get to try out the things we really believe work. A big difficulty on a race weekend is you don't have time to, especially with a single car team, to do a lot of experimenting or go too far out of your comfort zone because there's such short time to practice and really put together a race car. So you kind of take small deviations from what you know. And I think that's been our struggle in the heat. We've definitely tried some different big setups when it's possible. And, you just don't make pace quick and you've got to go back to your comfort zone quickly because the race is, is only a couple practice sessions away. Hopefully testing for LMDH, if that comes about, will be a great opportunity for us to really work outside our comfort zone and figure it out and be strong on both ends.
I love it. Well, guys, again, thank you very much for the time this morning. Look forward to seeing you guys at the track at some point later this year. Definitely Sebring at a minimum. So stay safe and have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, appreciate it for having us. Thank you.